Her finger hovered over publish. So I asked her one question. Who's watching? She answered in 2 seconds. She named someone who hadn't seen her work in over 20 years. If your chest tightened just now, stay with me because this file is probably yours. I'm Andrea Smith, clinical therapist, 25 years in the room with high-performing women, CBT, EMDR, clinical hypnotherapy. Last time I opened a case file, I showed you the 9 survival patterns collapsed into 6 roots. Today, round 2 begins, and we start with the biggest root of all, fear of judgment. The belief, if I'm seen imperfectly, I'm in danger. One root. It grows out of 3 of the 9 patterns, and by the end of this file, you'll know why women who carry it are almost always the most talented in the room. Details have been changed and combined, as always, to protect my clients. Call her Leah. Leah ran a design consultancy. An award sat on the shelf. A waiting list of clients, work her competitors quietly studied. She came to me with what she called 3 separate problems. Problem 1. She rewrote every proposal 4 or 5 times and still sent them in late. Problem 2. On pricing calls, if a client's face flickered, a discount left her mouth before she had decided to offer one. Problem 3. She declined 11 podcast invitations in 2 years. 11. 3 problems. 3 sets of books she'd read, 3 strategies she was failing at simultaneously. Except watch what the 3 have in common. Every single one is about the moment of being seen. The proposal is her, seen. The price is her worth, seen. The podcast is her voice, seen. She didn't have 3 problems. She had one root wearing 3 costumes. The perfectionist on the proposal, the people pleaser on the call, and the invisible one on the podcast. And the costume rotation is exactly why she could never pin it down. Fix one, and the root simply changes outfits. Now, to understand the root, you need one piece of neuroscience. It explains why every piece of advice she had given failed and why it was always going to. Here is what brain imaging research has shown us. Social rejection activates some of the same brain regions as physical pain. When you are judged, excluded, or criticized, your brain processes it with overlapping circuitry of being hurt. That's not a metaphor. When Leah said criticism stings, she was being more literal than she knew. And there's an older logic underneath. For most of human history, we survived in groups, and exile was a death sentence. So the human nervous system learned to treat the group's judgment as a matter of survival. Being seen imperfectly doesn't register as embarrassing. It registers as dangerous. Now apply that framework to common advice. Phrases like, just put yourself out there. Stop caring what other people think. Or be confident are attempts to make her reason with the survival instinct. But since we know from earlier that reasoning occurs in the prefrontal cortex, located in exactly the part of the brain that shuts down where danger appears, it's important to understand this. Confidence isn't the solution to fear of judgment. Instead, Confidence resurfaces once the brain perceives safety. The whole confidence industry is reversed. It offers confidence as the goal without addressing the underlying conditions. Leah didn't lack confidence. She had strong threat response tied to a vivid memory. So the real question becomes, a memory of what? In session 3, I asked Leah about being 9 years old. A pattern emerged that I've now seen in hundreds of talented women. I call it the talent tax. And here how it works. Talent draws an audience early. A gifted child is watched by teachers, by parents, by the class. She is held up as the example. Her work goes on the wall. And from the inside, praise and scrutiny are the same spotlight. The child who is applauded for the perfect results learns precisely because she is applauded. What happens to attention when the result is imperfect? The warmth drops. The correction comes. The example is made of her in the other direction. So her young nervous system draws the only sensible conclusion. Being seen is conditional. Brilliant is safe. Imperfect is exposed. And she spends the next 30 years paying the tax on her own gift. The more talent, the earlier the audience, the deeper the root. This is why the most capable woman in the room is so often the most hidden. Her hiding is not evidence against her talent. It is the receipt of it. Leah cried at that sentence, by the way. Not because it was sad, but because for 30 years she had read her hiding as a proof that she wasn't good as people thought. And it was proof of the opposite. Which now brings us back to the finger hovering over publish and the question I asked her. Who's watching? She named her own design tutor, a man she hadn't spoken to in 22 years, a man who, for all she knew, might not be alive. 2 seconds, no hesitation, because here's what the fear of judgment actually is underneath. You are not afraid of the audience. You are afraid of your original audience, the specific eyes that taught your nervous system the rule. And from then on, every audience since has been wearing their face. The Instagram followers, the podcast listeners, the client on the call, none of them have the power Leah's body was responding to. Her system had cast all in the old role. 500 strangers all wearing the one tutor's face. And this explains the strangest feature of this route. The one that confuses every woman who carries it. Why? The fear doesn't scale with the actual shakes. A throwaway LinkedIn post can produce more dread than a boardroom presentation because dread is not measured in the room. It is measuring the resemblance. When Leah saw that out loud in the session, something unlocked that no amount of confidence work had touched. She said, I've been performing for someone who isn't even in the room. 30 years of it. So the question became practical. The next time her finger hovers over publish and the old eyes arrive, What exactly does she do? I gave her a 4-step protocol that afternoon. I call it the roll call. Step 1. Catch the brace and ask the question. The moment the urge to rewrite hits, the discount forms appear or the decline email opens, ask, who's watching right now? Don't answer with logic. Answer with the first face that comes to mind. It arrives fast and is almost never in your actual audience. Step 2. Take the roll call call out loud if you can. That's the name eyes. Just name it. The name is not in the room. So when you're naming the original audience, it separates them from the now. And the separation is something your threat system can actually use. You're not arguing with the fear, you're correcting this address. I repeat, take the roll call out loud if you can. So, name it. That's that person's eyes. Name that person is not in the room. So when you name it, it separates them from the now. Step 3. Regulate for 90 seconds. So in breath for 4 and out breath for 8. You know why by now. You cannot update a threat file from within the threat. In for 4, out for 8. Step 4. 1 visibility ad, sized for the actual audience within 5 minutes. Send the proposal on draft 4, not 6. Hold the price through the flicker. Reply yes to the podcast. Then log in one line. Who I thought was watching, who is actually watching, and what happened. So write that down in your journal. The rule underlying all 4, the fear is a case of mistaken identity, and every logged line is evidence for the correction. From today, when the dread arrives, don't ask, why am I like this? Ask, who's watching? Remember those 2 words. The first question keeps you in the pattern, and the second opens the file. Day 30. Leah's file shows the 3 entries worth reading out. The proposal sent on draft 3 was accepted without a single change requested. The price held through the flicker, and the flicker turned out to be the client doing the arithmetic, not judging her. And the 1 podcast recorded, her first in 2 years. And the honest entry. The old eyes still arrived because she had named them, remember. 30 days doesn't retire a 30-year audience. What changed was she recognized the face now, took the roll call, and shipped anyway. The dread had stopped being the verdict and had become a visitor. One quick thing before ending. Tell me in the comments, which costume are you wearing the most? The perfectionist, the people pleaser, or the invisible one? One word is enough. I read every single one, and it tells me which pattern to open a file on next. If you want to know which pattern is your dominant one, not the one you'd guess, my free inner critic scorecard identifies it in 3 minutes. 9 patterns, 6 roots. If today's file resonated, don't be surprised if 2 of your most two of your patterns share the exact same root. First link is in the description. In the next series, the second root, worth must be earned. The belief that you're only valuable when you're producing. It fuels the overdoer and their identity collapse, and it explains why some women can't take a holiday without the crisis of identity by day 3. If you carry that one, you've already felt it. I'll see you there. Bye for now.